Hey, what's going on, guys? We got a few minutes and then we'll go ahead and get started. Hey, what's going on, Supercomputer? Tim, good to see you here. Austin, what's going on? Hopefully you guys have had a great Christmas, great holiday season so far. Let me know how you guys can hear me, if it's loud and clear. What's going on, Wealth Management? Snifted, good to have you here. I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. Good to see y'all are doing good as well. I spent some time with the family, just got back yesterday, I should say this morning. So one of the reasons why I haven't been super active, but going to start getting more active now as we get towards the end of the year into the beginning of next year. What's going on, Josh? Good to have you here. Austin says volume is perfect. Appreciate that. Going to give it another 30 seconds, let more people get in here, and then we'll get started with this stream. So again, I was with family over the week. That's why we did not have a stream last week, but we are getting back on our regularly scheduled programming. And so you guys are going to basically get a rundown of what's happened over the past few weeks and where I think the market is going from here. Unknown says if we close below 87.6 today, then $80,000 is brewing. Yeah, there's going to be some interesting levels we'll talk about. I know 88.5 is a big resistance level I'll be watching, and there's actually some liquidity near that level, so that would make sense for a reversal afterwards. I mean, yeah, like Josh said, please like the video, guys, if you haven't liked it. It's going to help spread this live stream to the masses. I know there's not many people live streaming during the last week of December. Everyone's on vacation with their family, so we're trying to still give you guys the great content as well and make sure you guys are properly informed along the way. So with that said, let me take a sip of coffee, and then let's go ahead and get this stream started. All right, so past 24 hours of liquidations, $70 million. Again, nothing crazy, right? We're used to seeing this at least over 100 million. So that tells you just how much less volume there is in the market. So longs and shorts basically split 50-50. Again, reiterating how much chop there's been in the market over the past few days. Now, if we go over to the liquidity heat map here, so like I said, we're kind of in the range between 89K down to 87K. So really nothing too crazy here, but I do want to mention that we are a little bit closer to 87K. So if we do have a drop potentially further down to 86, I can see that as being a nice little long area and then taking some profits around 89. Now, if you look at the 1 week, there's mostly liquidity to the downside, unfortunately. So 86 is going to be a big area of contention. Yes, we do have some above 90, but that big pocket's going to be near 86. So I could see us potentially falling below that and then continuing higher afterwards. And so those are levels I'm going to be keeping an eye on. We'll talk about that more in the TA portion of the live stream as well. Now, going to Watch Your Guru, we're going to cover some news items over the past week. Like I said, during the holiday season, you're not going to have too much news. I mean, yes, there's going to be some here and there, but really it's going to be very fragmented because there's not much going on. But we will talk about that in a minute. And I see some of the questions as well, and I will go ahead and get to those right after this news section here. So we do have Elon continuing to raise his net worth up to $750 billion. So congrats to him. Going to be the first public trillionaire, in my opinion. If you guys don't own a Tesla, highly recommend it. I have the new Model Y. It's the best car I've ever driven, or I should say the best car that drives me, as I've not having to drive it since I got it, really. It's just been FSD the whole way. But nonetheless, we also have the U.S. House of Representatives draft bill to exempt crypto stablecoin transactions under $200 from capital gains tax. Guys, this is going to be huge because if you think about it, most transactions aren't going to be more than $200 in one lump sum. I'm talking groceries, gas, food, right? Most things are going to be under $200. And so if you're exempt from capital gains tax on that, I mean, it's going to be huge for adoption. So everyone's going to be using it at that point. So again, just more for getting capital into the market and really just increasing that adoption. And we're really going to see that into next year, in my opinion, especially as more of these bills do get passed. Now, also, we had Michael Saylor hinting at buying more Bitcoin. Something I want to mention as well. For those unaware, whenever Michael Saylor buys Bitcoin, he's used as exit liquidity by the institutions, and then he ends up causing a local top. And then from there, we end up having a short-term drop to the downside. And so that's something as well. I do know he was hinting at buying more just recently. I think it was today or yesterday. And so we'll look at that as well. But that is something to keep in mind. Also, we had Elon Musk meeting with the UAE president to discuss advanced tech and artificial intelligence. Now, with that said, AI is a big narrative. As you know, we're in an AI bubble right now. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang says the same thing, but you just ride the train, okay? So we talked about privacy being a big narrative. I know that Snifted talked about Zcash just now. Zcash, Monero, a lot of privacy tokens are doing well, but also you have to keep in mind the AI narrative, robotics, quantum, those are big in stocks. And so if you guys can capture that, which I'm very curious if anyone here trades stocks, and if yes, do you guys have any quantum stocks or robotic stocks that you're interested in? I know Tesla is a robotic stock technically, and it's been doing amazing. I do think it's going to go much higher. But is there any other quantum stocks you guys are looking at? Because that's something as well. It's going to be a big field over the next few years. Speaking of big fields, precious metals, guys, have been doing insane. Gold, silver, all-time highs. Palladium, also, I think platinum too. Like, they've been doing insane, and it's a thing I want to point towards because precious metals doing as good as they are signals one thing. It signals lack of confidence in the US dollar. And we're even seeing that. If you look at the DXY, it's declining. Bitcoin and stocks are inversely correlated to the DXY. DXY declines, those go up. Now, it's interesting though, just seeing everything go up at the same time. And so what that means is we're seeing a shift in real time from the dollar to stocks, to precious metals, and even to crypto. And that's something we're going to see. It's going to be more prevalent in the next year, is we're going to see that shift, that flight to safety now. As people lose confidence in the dollar, you're going to see that shift like we're already seeing. And in my opinion, that's what the Trump administration sees. They see that Bitcoin is the future, the digital gold rush, and they want to stockpile it. That's why they created America Bitcoin, that company that's mining a lot of Bitcoin. All these regulations are pro-Bitcoin, pro-crypto. Like, you're literally seeing it in real time, the transfer of wealth that's happening. And so even though where the market's chopping, even though we've been declining since October, you guys got to see the big picture here is there's a lot more money that's flowing into the market. And you'll see that too in the next few news articles we cover. And I see your questions, guys. I will get to those in a minute, so just stay tuned for that. I'm just going to cover a few more news items here. JP Morgan considering offering crypto trading to institutional clients. Again, everyone's now getting their clients in because they already got a big piece of the pie. Also, you have Bank of America saying AI will drive strong economic growth in 2026. What do you think happens when the economics growth continues higher? Well, it's going to bleed into crypto. Also, you have pro-crypto Michael Selig sworn in as new CFTC chair. Guys, literally the writing's on the wall. Trump is hiring people who are pro-crypto, especially for the new Fed chair in May. He literally said he's only going to allow people that agree with him. And so that means lowering rates more. That means more stimulus. So again, ahead of the November 2026 election, things are going to be crazy in a good way. And you have to take advantage of that. You have Bank of Russia considering allowing unqualified investors to purchase crypto. You have Trump saying tariffs are responsible for the great economic numbers just announced and they'll only get better. Again, better numbers means better for the crypto market. You also have crypto czar David Sachs saying the golden age is here. And Trump saying that anybody that disagrees with me will never be the Fed chairman. Again, short-term upside, long-term, could be debatable. But this is also something I was mentioning where you had Michael Saylor hinting at buying more Bitcoin. May see a local top soon. And we were actually up against some big resistance on a few tokens, so we'll look at that as well. All right, so let's go ahead and get some of the questions. See what you guys have. Let's see. Snifted says, I got wrecked by Zcash this week. Did you try to short it, Snifted? I'm assuming so. Zcash has been on a tear. Same with Monero, guys. Privacy narrative is crazy. Always make sure you're managing risk accordingly, setting those stops at those levels that you need to, whether it's above major support or resistance, below or above the most recent wick, to make sure that you do have at least some room for the coin to go up or down, as well as lowering your leverage during these volatile times. So let's see. Obaid says, Luke, if you're around Kuala Lumpur, please make a public meetup. Been following you for a long time. Want to meet. So I'm not Luke. I'm actually John Luke. Sounds similar, but different people. So if I'm sure if Luke is ever in the area, he'll have a nice little meetup as well. Appreciate that, Austin, for the clarification there. Cashflow says, hi there, Data. What's going on, Cashflow? Good to see you here. Tim says, yes, Ionic looks good, but waiting for the bear market to buy long-term stuff. Gotcha. Okay, assuming you're talking about quantum stocks, Tim. I'll check out Ionic. Appreciate that. Sniffed It says, Palantir is a good one. Yes, Palantir, the surveillance stock. Very, very good. I'll look into Palantir as well. I know they had crazy hype a few months ago. Cashflow, gold has been moving high a lot lately. It has. Daniel, should I buy ETH now? Do you think it's a good idea? ETH is up against resistance around 29.30, and we'll talk about that as well in a minute. But a lot of coins are in that chop area. I mean, the indicators are like in the mid 50 levels, so not really overbought, oversold. So really things could go either way. That's when you just fall back on the basics of support and resistance. Zaylin says, are you bullish? Honestly, Zaylin, I'm leaning slightly bearish for now. Because for example, the stock RSI on Solana on the daily is getting overbought. And so I'm getting a little bearish for that. Tim says, in-person gold and silver sales were going crazy before Christmas. Yeah, Tim, you remember a lot of people were waiting in line for gold? Was it November? That's when we topped, local top around 4,300, pulled back to 4,000, and now we're above 45. Hexter says, silver trade war, elaborate, please. So I know that China, silver has been doing great in China. I think even Japan. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on with silver as well. But yeah, I don't think I mentioned silver trade war per se. I just mean that as far as with the US dollar, there's, a lot of tension with that and a lot of countries getting off of the dollar standard and either denominating in Bitcoin or their own currency. Sniffed It says, I did short Zcash. My mistake is that I did not place a stop loss. So Mom's like, gotcha. Yeah. And here's the thing, Sniffed It, is, you're fine not placing a stop loss if you're willing to lose everything you invested. For example, like if you put in $50 and you're willing to lose all of that, then fine. Having no stop loss because you're willing to get liquidated, right? That's one way to trade. But at the same time, if you're trading with, let's say, 10, 20% of your portfolio, then it's like, okay, I think I should have a stop loss. And that's usually, I would say that the most you should have a stop loss is like 3% away, depending. If you're trading 3 to 5x leverage, you can probably have it 4 or 5% away because then you'd lose about 20 to 25%. But just make sure, yes, you do have a stop loss and you do give yourself or the trade enough room to breathe. Supercomputer, what are your thoughts or targets for gold and silver? Good question. I mean, just top of my head, gold 5,000, silver $100. They're probably good round numbers. Daniel, support and resistance and basic price action is king at trading. Exactly, guys. When indicators aren't telling you much, when they're basically in the middle, then you can just fall back on major support and resistance on the daily or weekly time frames. Robinhood, what do you think about next year rate cuts? I think January is going to be no change. I know that odds of that have been going down, or I should say up, whatever you want to look at it. But basically, I think it's now 87% of no change on Polymarket for rate cuts in January. I do think we'll have another rate cut before May, before Trump replaces Powell. But it's going to be more shaky. And I think that a lot of it's going to depend on what Powell says at the January FOMC meeting. So after that happens, we'll know much more if, hey, there's a chance we could get rate cuts in February or March, or they're taking a more risk-off approach and we may have to cool off a little bit. But nonetheless, if there is any hint at a rate cut, the market's going to blow. It's going to go up much, much higher. Now, the thing that I do like is Powell said that there's no talks of raising rates. He said that at the last FOMC meeting. So that's at least a positive, but just something to keep in mind there. Afnazel, I'll talk about ETH as well and what you should do with that. Tim, any thoughts on managing UTXOs for Bitcoin? So you can look at those for data and just seeing if there's more demand or not, or seeing if, again, there's going to be more transactions going on. But I would say just look at the past and see, based off how many transactions there were, how that corresponded with price, and then go from there. But I do think CryptoQuant, the platform, they do have some measurements for UTXOs, so just check that out. All right, let's continue here. So looking at the TradFi market. All right, looking at the S&P, 69.29. It is closing above, or it looks to be above here at 68.90. Now, the only thing I'd be concerned about here is we still have a few more days left for the weekly close, but if we continue higher here, then we could end up forming a bearish divergence on the RSI. The RSI is at 66 right now. The previous high was at 69. So if we do get up a little higher here, then I could see us forming a bearish divergence and then coming back down, potentially, I mean, to 6,600. And that would be an area that I'd be looking to buy. But, I mean, this is very bullish, though, because the RSI is crossing above this downward channel and above its signal line on the weekly, so it could mean a lot more room to go for the S&P. But I think 7,000 is a good round number to target for a potential bearish divergence and then retracement after that. But a lot's going to depend on where we close, right? If we do close the weekly below 68.90, it's going to be a little double top. And then from there, I could definitely see 6,600. But if not, then again, we open the door for a bearish divergence. But then if we keep going higher and invalidate it on the RSI, then at that point, all bets are off. And then we're going to 7,500 plus. Now for gold, I mean, what can you say about gold? It's just a monster, right? Gold's just been making all-time highs after all-time highs. And even here, whenever the RSI crossed above its signal line, I said, hey guys, gold's about to send, and it actually sent. And so again, same thing with the S&P. Gold is now having a little bearish divergence on the RSI. Lower highs on the RSI, higher highs on price. So at the very least, 42.70 would be the level I'd look for a pullback if we do close at these levels on the weekly in a few days. So that's what I'm watching for gold. Oil futures, nothing crazy there. US dollar, just as I was talking about, dollar's continuing to decline. The strength is continuing to wane. Now, same thing. The RSI rejected off the signal line, going lower. And here you can see we're even going lower. It's at $98. But if we can close below this 98.20 level, I could see it at least retesting 97.50, which would be very, very good as far as higher for Bitcoin and stocks. But like I said, it's just going to determine where we close at on the weekly. Next, let's look at the overall market. So again, reiterating what I was talking about, a lot of chop. I mean, most tokens are up or down 0.1%. Right? Like there's not much going on here. Now, yes, if you look at the top 24-hour gainers, obviously you're going to have outliers. Zcash, I mentioned. Privacy tokens, guys. Privacy tokens. Privacy tokens. Zcash and Monero, good bets if we do have a bounce. You can't ignore strength. You got to bet on the outperformers. And then obviously we have some memes. The white whale has been amazing. I mean, this token has just been up only, basically. So there's still memes and still good projects that are doing very well. But you just have to look for them and, again, still take profits along the way because these tokens can retrace in an instant. Also, looking at the Fear and Greed Index, 29. So what does that mean? Well, it means retail is still a little bit cautious. That means if we get above 30, yes, we could have a little bit more euphoria. I say euphoria lightly because it means retail is returning. Obviously not near the 60 plus, 80 plus level we're looking for, but if we get above this 29 level that we've been chopping in, then it could signal again more retail's returning. And I would expect this to probably get above this in January into the new year. Because right now, people are away, people are on vacation, they're not looking at the market. And so it's one of the reasons why we're having this risk-off mentality at the moment. And then ETFs have really been lackluster. I mean, it's mainly been outflows. Ethereum's had outflows and Bitcoin just been straight outflows. And so that tells you, again, institutions taking a risk-off approach. Most clients are taking a risk-off approach into the new year. After January starts, potentially we could see some more flows return, but I'll be watching this very closely as we get towards the end of the new year. We got 3 more days left, and so keep an eye on this as well. Once institutions return, then we can start to see some more money flowing in, and then as well, that be reflected in price. Now let's go ahead and answer some questions real quick, and then we'll go over the charts. Hootie says, market's cooked for real. Yeah, markets are very... very choppy right now. Daniel, ETH is at a massive weekly support at 2,900. Yeah, it's another one. Supercomputer, one more thing you need to check. S&P 500 on the monthly. Monthly, huh? Okay, let's check the monthly real quick. Did I just close that out? There we go. All right, let's check the monthly. Let's see where the S&P is at on the monthly. Whoops. Let me go to this chart. Okay. Oh, yeah. So the monthly, I mean, the RSI is at 76. The last time it was this high was July of 2021, before we had the big crash. Interesting. We did have, though, 2017, where it just kept going, but nonetheless, monthly is way, way overbought. So that's that's another interesting one. Now, we don't really have a bearish divergence on the RSI here, so it means, a lot of that strength is warranted. But just very interesting to say the least how overbought we are. Yeah, good one to keep an eye on. All right. Any other questions? Snifted says, do you think the 50 moving average to 200 are good indicators? Yes, I do. I look at the 50 and 200 EMA as the main ones I watch. Sprockos, what's up? Good to see you here. F. Nonzel says S&P all-time high. Crazy. Tim says, thanks for the Alpha CD. Hey, no problem, guys. Hope you guys are enjoying this stream. Like I said, I want to catch you guys up because I know that I was away last week, so I want to make sure we cover everything that I did not mention. So let's go and look at Solana since I already have the chart up. Then we'll go over Ethereum and Bitcoin. So, excuse me. So Solana looks to be forming a little double bottom here. Now, the thing that keeps me a little hesitant, you can see here, is the stock RSI on the daily is starting to get overbought. I do not like buying here. Like if Solana was even at 50 on the stock RSI, I feel a little better. The fact that the RSI is curving to the downside, stock RSI is getting close to overbought, and we're at resistance of 125. I'm like, okay, we gotta take a pause here. Now, I drew this line earlier today, potentially a double bottom here, right? But we gotta close above this 125 level. That's the first order of battle. If we close back below, not going to be good, invalidate the pattern, and then I'd be looking for a buy near 117. Honestly, guys, I'm waiting for 117. Like 117, 118, I'm not going to want to buy any higher than that just because where the stock RSI is at and where the market is at as far as Chop City. I'm not trying to take risks here and trade out of boredom. You got to remove your emotion and trade on the data only. And so, yeah, I'm either waiting for a close above 125 and then maybe it may look better than I look for a push to 130. But until then, I mean, it's just patience, right? I mean, it's support, literally support December 20th, 21st, 22nd, and now it's acting as resistance. And so standard SR, standard TA says you wait, right? And I mean, technically the better move here is to short it, honestly. If we're talking about risk reward here, with a stop loss would be a close above 125.40. I mean, that would be the safe bet. You could have a close above on the daily. If you want to do it on the 4 hour, you could do that as well. But even if you look at the 4 hour here, you can see, I mean, look at the stock RSI. It's just rolling over. This is not what you want to see. Okay. Once the stock RSI gets down here, okay, then it'll look interesting, right? Then the daily will probably be near 50 at that point if the stock RSI gets down here. But I do not like to long, especially as we're rejecting off resistance, as the stock RSI is rolling over to the downside. Even though the RSI looks somewhat good here, I like my stock RSI on the 4 hour to be a little bit lower, at least below 50 at the very least. And the daily at least to be a lot, like at least the daily to be around 58 or something. Like, you know what I'm saying? I like to have better risk reward metrics than just buying when everything's in the middle or overbought. So yeah, that's what I'm looking at for Solana. Support 117, 103, resistance 125, 130, gonna be 138 here, coinciding with the trend line and the 50 EMA on the daily, and then 145 and 155 coinciding with the 100 EMA. Excuse me. Now let's go over Ethereum and then we'll go over Bitcoin last. So Ethereum, people are asking me about that. Right now, it doesn't look horrible, but again, it's in this range, 29.30 to 30.50, okay? Someone was asking me, let me see who it was. So I got to find the question about, oh, here we go. F. Nonzel was asking me, should I close the ETH long average entry at 29.50? I don't think you should close it necessarily. Here's the thing, F. Nonzel, is technically right now, 29.30 is going to be an area of contention, right? It's going to be technically a resistance, turn support. It's right there. You can see we've been bouncing around it. If the daily closes above 29.30, potentially we could have one last push to 30.50, but you just got to be careful. Now, what I do like is even right here, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low. Okay? That's good bullish market structure when you're making higher lows like that. So that's bullish. Now, you could say you could get out of your trade if the daily closes below 2,900. That's something, well, it could be, because it would be, I mean, I guess technically it'd still be a higher low. So, I mean, below 28.20 would be an invalidation point there. But again, that would be where I'd probably look to get out. And so, yeah, it's just in a range right now. I mean, you can see the stock RSI is right near 60. The RSI is near 43 and curving down. So really, it's more of a coin flip, to be honest with you. It's going to determine where we close the daily here. If we close the daily above 29.30, the trade's going to look a lot better. Okay, the trade's going to look a lot better. And then from there, probably a little push at least to 3,000. That's what I would expect if we close above 29.30 today. So that's what I would watch for the daily close. And if you want to get out, if we close the daily below 2,900, it's probably a better bet, as we're most likely going to 28.20. And the next support from there, major support where I definitely have some longs, is going to be 26.80. 26.80, if you look at the, let me get rid of some of these lines. If you look at the 200 EMA on the weekly for 26.80, you can see it's right there, right? The 200 weekly EMA, very strong support. You can see we bounced multiple times here, and we bounced multiple times here, September. of 2024. So this weekly with this trend line support is very big. So I would definitely have some longs near 2680 if you can get it. And then below that, 2560. But resistance wise, I mean, it's going to remain 3050, right? Because it was in this range. It couldn't close above 3050, rejected it. And now 2930 is the area of contention. And so if we can get above 2930, 3050 is the next big one. And then 3270 is going to be that next big area of resistance afterwards. Finally, going to Bitcoin. All right, so Bitcoin here, similar thing. It's not horrible, but at the same time, I mean, just stock RSI is getting close to overbought, right? Like, I'd like for this to be lower for the risk reward because we're pushing up against this 88.5K resistance. And you can already see where we're starting to reject here. And so I do not like this. If you want to try to draw some trend line resistance, did it break above? See, I mean, it's not really anything there. I don't want to force it. But at the very least, I want to see it close above, let's say 88.7K. But you do have to remember this heat map. Remember what we said on the 24 hour is we do have some liquidity just above 88K, so 88.7K. So it'd be a perfect scenario, 88.7K, tag this upper liquidity, form maybe even a double top, and boom, go down, right? And so that's why I want to see it close above. Close above on the daily, let's say around 88.8K, 88.9K. That'd be a little bit bullish. And then from there, we could look for a target potentially around 92. That'd be the next big target. But until then, you got to act like this is resistance here because the RSI is curving to the downside. Stock RSI is getting a little bit closer to overbought. So if we have any last push, it could push the stock RSI into overbought territory. And then from there, curve over, right? If you look at the 4 hour, the 4 hour, not looking the best. I mean, RSI is curving down, 4 hours curving down. So if the 4 hour gets oversold, maybe that might look interesting, especially if it coincides with 86.6K. Because if we look at the heat map, look at this. 86.9K is where that liquidity is. So a little bit lower there, tag lower liquidity, then go to the upside. At that point, then I'll start targeting 88.7K. And so if we're looking at Bitcoin here, I could see us potentially going down to this level. So maybe right here, right? And then bouncing up and getting up here. Like you could say, if you want to take a long right here, if that would coincide with the stock RSI on the 4 hour getting oversold. Potentially if we have something like that. That's what I'd be interested in, right? But again, guys, it's all about risk reward. You do not want to force these trades, okay? The market, I mean, just look at, I mean, just look at literally this chop. I mean, we've literally just been chopping since, what is it, December 19th for over a week. Literally just chopping within this range. I mean, you don't want to try to force this. And so most indicators are in the middle, right? And so it's just waiting. Profit taking, tax loss harvesting towards the end of the year. That's all it is. So don't over analyze it. It's just people are on vacation. People are profit taking. People are working on their taxes. They're selling for that. They're selling their losses, write it off on their taxes. It's standard end of the year shenanigans. And so I wouldn't force anything from there. But yeah, for right now for Bitcoin, biggest thing I'm watching is a close above, let's say 88.8K. If it can close above that on the daily, maybe a little bit bullish there. But again, you have to look at the stock RSI as well. And just watch for that to get overbought. So let's see. Any other questions? Daniel says, Happy New Year, by the way. Hey, Happy New Year, Daniel. Appreciate that. Got a few more days, and then we'll start the new year. Crazy. It's about to be 2026. This year has flown by. And hopefully you guys have gained a lot of value, right? And Gem Hunters, we've been trying to give you guys as much value as possible, especially the meme coin channel. Those guys have been doing great. Well, for those in the paid Gem Hunters, I should say. But even in the free group, guys, like, hope you guys are enjoying the content here. And if you guys haven't joined the free Telegram group for Gem Hunters, links in the description. If you want to join the paid Gem Hunters group, it's 1 Ethereum for a year. So go and check that out as well. But I want to make sure that you guys are getting the best value possible, especially with these live streams. And also, if you guys haven't liked the live stream, I'd appreciate that. It helps spread the live stream to the masses. So much appreciated, guys. Also, if you guys aren't following me on X, that is another thing. The crypto data. So I'll link it in the chat as well. So if you guys haven't followed me on there, I am the person talking. So if you guys haven't followed me on there, go ahead and check out my tweets, check out pinned message and everything. I try to give you guys the best content possible. And I want to make sure you guys are well informed as well. Now let's see what else we have. Patashchenko says, you're great. Wish you the best. Hey, appreciate you, Patashchenko. Wish you the best as well. Supercomputer says Doji. Yes, Doji's an interesting one. Hey, Data, what's your data on gold? Gold cash flow, it's just I'm expecting potentially a bearish divergence. And so you can see here when we went over it, RSI is making a lower high, price making a higher high for gold. I would look for a pullback to 42.70 if the weekly closes above, well, closes above it, just makes a higher high. I'll look for a pullback there. Snifted says, I also think Bitcoin will tag 86.5K and bounce back. Yeah, it's a very, very possible level, especially with the chop, especially with the liquidity levels lower. Makes sense. Afnanzel says, are you holding any position right now? I'm actually not. I'm being patient right now for trades. I'm going to post a trade for you guys soon because I know it's been over a week. And so I want to make sure you guys have a good entry though. So most likely it'll be either a limit long or a limit short. And so that's something I'm going to make most likely a limit short if we get one last pump higher and then have a reversal. But again, I'm being patient with this. Pickles says, thanks for giving us the best knowledge. Been doing good ever since I joined. Awesome, Pickles. That's amazing. That's what I love to see, guys, is you guys doing much, much better after you joined and really just getting as much value possible. And that's what we're here focused on at Gem Hunters. We want to make sure you guys are getting the best value. And because you know what they say, if you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. You teach a man a fish, you feed him for life. And so that's the biggest thing where when I follow these charts and when I'm charting everything and explaining to you guys what's going on with the market and why we've been so choppy, is so you guys can understand better and do it on your own and not have to rely on all the streams, right? Because at the end of the day, the sooner you can trade on your own and form your own thesis, the better you can be as a trader over the long term versus just trying to look for quick pump and dumps or quick calls, right? So it's a little bit of both. We give you guys calls, but we also want you to fend for yourselves in case you want to trade a little bit more. And hopefully these streams can help with that. Let's see. The Hexter says, what indicator to use for the gold lines on your charts, or did you do that manually? Yeah, so these gold lines are just horizontal support and resistance. So literally I'm looking for, where these lines touch the most, resistance here, turn support, turn resistance. And so you can look at my technical analysis basics video on the Gem Hunters YouTube channel. If you go to the third video from the bottom on the live tab, so go to the Gem Hunters YouTube channel, go to the live tab, and then scroll all the way down. Third video from the bottom says technical analysis basics, has my face on it, and you'll be able to watch that and it'll teach you how to draw these SR lines, support resistance. Afnanzel says, thanks bro for the information. Hey, no problem, Afnanzel, appreciate you. Sniffed it, thanks for the amazing stream again, a lot of value as always. Appreciate that, guys. And with that, that will conclude the stream. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate all of you. Hopefully you guys are having a great Christmas, great New Year, and have a great rest of the rest of the next few weeks as we get into the new year. It's going to be a great year, guys. Q1, I'm extremely bullish. We'll keep these live streams coming. We'll keep the calls coming. So stay tuned for it. Again, if you haven't followed me on X at the Crypto Data, make sure to do so. And then check the links in the description if you want to join the Gem Hunters free group or the paid group as well. So thanks, guys. Hope you all have a great rest of the day. Talk soon.